This is the Lowell Pro light. You'll find 2 of these in each of the lighting kits. Every one of these lights comes with this short pigtail cable attached to it. In order to plug this into the wall, you have to attach this longer extension cable to the pigtail. A couple of the controls that are important for you to know are the spot flood controls. So when you have this backed off to here, it's now on flood. When you move it forward like this, it goes to spot. There are barn doors here that you open these up in this fashion, and thereby you can control the spill coming from the light. This light has a frosted glass on it, which provides a pretty nice light, but you can also add some diffusion to this, and I'll show you that in just a moment. But I just want to point out to you that with the barn doors, you can control spill like this, you can control it that way, you can control it this way, you can do all kinds of things with it. The other thing about these barn doors is that they will spread out, they will give you a different perspective and a different aspect. So when you're using them, so for instance, if I've got them like this, you can get a wider beam of light heading out here. When you're using, just experiment to see which barn door situation is going to work best for you. You will also find in the lighting kit a bracket that looks like this, and it's kind of a confusing thing, but the first thing you need to do is just spread this out like this so that you end up with basically a rectangle. Then on the back, you pull this out so that you've got an extension that comes out, and this bracket should then look like this. And what you do is you put this end of it in here, in this little slot down here, and you tighten it up. Once you've got that in place, you can add, we have a kit of diffusion and gel material. So you can put some of that material on if you want to give your light a softer color. This is a frost material, for instance. Put this on like this, and it will give you a different quality of light. So this is what it looks like when you have a light without any kind of frosting or diffusion material on it at all. So here's a shot of Dolores with some frost material on it. Now I've had to open up the aperture a fair bit, but you can see that the light is a fair bit more attractive as well. And here's Dolores with a little bit of diffusion material on it. It again softens the light, gives a nicer look to it. And also you don't need to have the iris quite so wide open. I've actually been able to close it down a fair bit to make this work. Just a couple of reminders about how to use light stands. The first is that remember to use the widest tubes, the thickest tubes first. Also remember that when you're setting up a light stand, you want the light to be approximately twice the height of the subject that you're shooting. I'm shooting Dolores with the light at just about her eye level, and I've actually overexposed Dolores a little bit so that you can see that there is a shadow behind her. So if you shoot with your light right at somebody's eye level, inevitably you're going to end up with a shadow. If you raise the light, and just about right about here, you just have to tilt it down. If you raise the light, you'll find that this is about twice the height, and you'll see that the shadow has completely disappeared. One of the other ways that you can use this lighting system is with this lighting umbrella. And again, you just put it in the same bracket that you put the frame for the diffusion material. Now the thing to remember is then the umbrella, this light is going to reflect off of this umbrella. So you've got to point the light away from the subject. And here's what Dolores looks like under a lighting umbrella. Just remember that we only have one lighting umbrella per kit, so you have to decide what light you're going to use it on. You can use the lighting umbrella on the key light if you want a nice soft light that goes over a broad area, or you can use it as the fill light. We have 2 Pro lights in each kit, but we also have this light, which is called a V light, and when you pull it out of the kit, it'll be set up, or it'll look something like this. So what you need to do is loosen this bracket off, and it takes a little bit of loosening. and then tighten it up again. And then you take these wings and you fold them this way. Now this is the full V positioning, and this gives you more foot candles than if you use this kind of position, which gives you a broader lighting area, but not as much light. So this is Dolores with a V-light, and you'll see that it's a little bit of a harsher light. A lot of people use a V-light with an umbrella, but the big advantage to the V-light, and I just need to zoom back here to show you this, is that you can light a really broad area with it. So it has lots of applications in that sense. The other thing to remember about the V-light is that it works extremely well with an umbrella. So the same way that you set up the Pro Light with the umbrella, you can also set up a V-light. The first thing you do when you are lighting for a three-point interview is set up the people. This is Dolores, who's being interviewed. This is Lillian, who's the reporter who's doing the interview. I've set up Dolores so she's about 6 feet away from the backdrop. And I've got Lillian and Dolores about 4 feet away. This is a common mistake for people. They either put the person who's being interviewed too close to the backdrop, or they get the reporter and the person who's being interviewed too far away. Keep them relatively close. Also remember that there's an action axis here between Lillian and Dolores, and the other part is the camera. Set the camera up too, and remember to set the camera up at the eye level of the person who's being interviewed, and also set it up right beside the reporter. If you set it up too far away, you'll end up with really a profile shot. Once you've done that, then you can start setting up the lights. Remember, action axis between these two. So we've got the camera here on one side of the action axis. I don't want to get tripped up. So I'm going to take the key light. That's the first one that you set up. And I'm going to put it almost in exactly the same place, except opposite on the action axis. So you've got the camera pretty close to the reporter here. So I've got the key light pretty close to the reporter as well, but on the other side of the action axis. The next light you're going to set up is the fill light. And what I'm using for a fill light is the V light with the umbrella. So I'm going to put this on the same side of the action axis as the camera. And then the last light I'm going to set up is a backlight. This is just one of the Pro lights. And I'm going to set this up on the same side of the action axis as the fill light over here. Remember that you want to get this backlight out of the camera shot, and you want to create just a little bit of a halo of light around this person with a backlight. So let's take a look at what all of these things are going to look like once I set the lights up and turn them on. Okay, the first light I'm going to set up here is the key light. So I've got a little bit of frost material on the key light, and it is pretty much in its spot position right at the moment. So you'll see that you've got some fairly interesting shadows here, especially on her cheek on this side of the action axis. Okay, so the next light that I'm going to work on here is the fill light. I turn the fill light on, and you will see that it's a little bit darker, but you'll also see that that shadow I was talking about on her chin kind of disappears. And this is a much softer light than you've seen from the key light. The final light that I'm going to set up here is the backlight. Notice that the backlight provides us with a halo of light here, so it gives it a little bit of separation from the background. Also notice, just by coincidence, we have a white floor here, and you're getting some reflection off the floor over on her right-hand side. So once you have all the lights set up, it's time to turn them on and see what you end up with here. First of all, we'll start off with the key light. So you've got lots of kind of intense bright light coming from one side of the action axis. The fill light then fills out the other side of the action axis. And then we come over here to the backlight and turn it on, and you see you get that little bit of a halo effect, and it separates the subject from the background.